Hi guys, and welcome back to class. Today, you guys are going to start off with drawing a depiction. You're going to draw a shape that represents the relationship between Pat, the narrator, and Epichat. Please be prepared to show your illustrations or your drawings inside of Schoology, inside of the discussion board. There'll be a link for you to post that into, and that way we can share out collectively. Now, based on your annotations from last night's homework, which annotations that you wrote down were most helpful in deciding what shape that you should draw? Now moving on. So let's talk about love triangles. Love triangles are when three people are involved in a romantic relationship that is called a love triangle. Love triangles are a classic trope or literary device that are used in love stories. Please make sure that you make a note of that inside of your journals. So now moving on, let's look at our focusing and our content framing question for this lesson. Our focusing question is, what makes love complicated? And our content framing question in our reveal stage says, what does a deeper exploration of the love triangle in Epichat reveal? Our craft question in lesson 24 says, in our experiment stage, how does sequencing an argument work? So in order for us to be able to answer the content framing question, I want us to ask ourselves, where have you recently seen this pattern in relationships in reference to a triangle? Where have you seen a love triangle before in the reading that we've had so far? Now let's look at an actual love triangle. I want us to think about how love triangles have been illustrated in our reading. So I want us to look at the beginning of the play. What was the love triangle that was evident there? What was the love triangle that was evident in the middle of the play? And I want you to draw them out in a triangular form. So something similar like this. Please remember that these slides are always inside of Schoology outside of the video, so you can go into the slides and go to slide 5 to see this example, to be able to draw this out inside of your journals. When we're thinking about a love triangle, we can kind of go back and think about some movies that we've seen, so we can know how to illustrate and how to find those elements within our text. So let's think about the movie Twilight. So looking at the love triangles that we've just identified, what caused the love triangles in Act 3 of A Midsummer Night's Dream? What causes the love triangles inside of Epichat? Now we should have read Epichat at this point, but I want us to review our paragraphs 11 through 51, and annotate for descriptions of the characters' emotions. Put the letter of P for Pat, N for the narrator, and E for Epichat to indicate who's feeling the emotion. So for example, if you're reading through the emotion and Pat feels sad at that moment, then you would put a P where it says that someone is having the emotion of sad to indicate that Pat is the one that's experiencing that emotion. Then I want you to look back at your annotations and ask yourself, which character seems to be underrepresented in your annotations? If you don't understand this question, please look up the word underrepresented in order to answer properly. Remember that love can become complicated in many different ways, whether through complicated events, emotions, or situations. Now let's answer a few questions. You will see these questions inside of Schoology, and they will be set up as normal in our discussion boards. The first question is, how do the emotions or lack of emotions in Epichat develop your understanding of the love triangle? And how does the lack of Pat or Epichat's perspective complicate love in Epichat? And how is Epichat complicated in a way that is different from in Midsummer Night's Dream? For those of you that are online, we're going to do a collaborative discussion to illustrate our chalk walk. These questions will be listed inside of Schoology, and then you guys will comment upon each other's discussion board prompts or what you guys have said to one another. We've done this before, and the first question is, what relationship does the character have to the other two? What information does this character have that the others do not? And conversely, what information is this character unaware of? And how does the love triangle make love more complicated for this character? Now moving on to our writing phase. We're going to be in our experiment stage today, and we're asking ourselves, how does sequencing an argument work? So we've been talking about Cree for quite a while. I want you guys to label the exemplar essay with Kriya, and then cut up the exemplar essay and rearrange the essay, trying a new approach to the Kriya sequence. So for example, you may put your reasoning first instead of your claim. Whatever you think is going to make the exemplar essay even better once you've rearranged it. I will have a link for you guys to post this inside of Schoology as we've done before. In order to gain helpful background about love triangles as a consistent pattern in English or literature, you will conduct a brief research about a love triangle of your choice. So you're going to brainstorm other examples of love triangles from books that you have read or movies that you have seen. You want to have a brief discussion about the use of the love triangles in popular books and movies. For example, there's a love triangle in Star Wars, the love triangle between Luke, Han, and Leia. So here are some names of love triangles that have come up. I want you to pick a chosen love triangle and take notes in your own words inside of your journals on what you discovered, and be ready to share out inside of the discussion board 2 interesting discoveries that you have found based off of the love triangle in which you researched. What information does the narrator present to the audience in this quote, and what information does he leave out? And how does the narrator's ordering information affect your understanding of the relationships in the story? These questions are focused on epitaph. To end today's lesson, and our content framing question is, in our reveal stage, what does a deeper exploration of the love triangle and epitaph reveal? Write a 3-2-1 exit ticket where you're going to write 3 ways the love triangle and epitaph is similar to or different from the love triangles in A Midsummer Night's Dream, 2 ways the love triangle and epitaph makes love more complicated, and 1 new understanding about how love is complicated from considering the love triangles in A Midsummer Night's Dream and epitaph. For tonight's homework, you need to finish reading epitaph from I Had Stumped Him at Last to Say Nothing But Good of the Dead, paragraphs 52 through 64, and annotate for lies that are told by the narrator. So I want you guys to be looking to see where the narrator is lying in these paragraphs. Then conduct a research on the love triangle of your choice that we discussed in this presentation, and write down and list connections that can make between epitaph and Midsummer Night's Dream and the love triangle they conduct research on. Also continue to practice for the reader's theater. Now I want you guys to look at this statement. There are 2 sides to every story. Do you agree with this statement? Why or why not? At the top of page 5, the word bluff. Bluff. Using context clues, what do you think bluff means? After you have tried to guess what the meaning of the word bluff is, I want you to try the meaning of the word spare. Then check your guesses or your predictions against the definitions that are here and record in your journal. Now let's try to replace bluff with trick him and spared with protected him from. Then think about how your understanding of the story would be different because we changed the wording. So if you changed bluff to trick him or spared to protected him from. How does that add or change your understanding? To end our vocabulary deep dive, in the Complete Your Exit ticket, in which you will explain what the words bluff and spare mean and demonstrate how the narrator wants us to see his actions. Does he want us to see them as cruel, kind, or sympathetic? Then I want you to choose the words that you think Epicat might use to describe the narrator's actions. Remember that word choice can influence how readers perceive the events of a story. When a narrator is also a character in the story, readers have to consider how his or her point of view affects the portrayal of the events. Alright guys, that's going to be it for today's lesson. Once again, office hours every day, Monday through Friday, 11:22 to 12:06 p.m. I'll see you then if you need any help.